Hello everyone. In today's locomotive profile we'll be doing is a second articulate locomotive in Japan, and that is the JGR Class 9020. Was a 2440 Malay locomotive operated by Japanese government railways in March of 1913 to May 1925. The 9020s were the first Malay locomotives with tenders, of course, that were used on the JGR. A total of 6 locomotives were built by Alco Schenectady in 1911 to overcome the lack of transportation capacity on steeper sections of the lines, such as the Tokaido Main Line between Kozo and Numazu, and the Tohoku Main Line between Kariaso and Shirakawa. The locomotive arrived in December of 1911. Only the locomotives arrived, with their tenders built by local factories and workshops. The locomotives were originally going to be built as 0440 locomotives and classified as the Class 4600, a number which should have been assigned to tank locomotives according to the JGR's numbering scheme. But some information at the time mentions a plan that Malay locomotives would be numbered between 400, 500 and 4999, regardless of whether they were tank or tender locomotives, or if it was a mistake, which arose some way that the locomotives were reported. It has been said that the head of the JGR's engineering department, Yasujiro Shima, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, was opposed to ordering of complex steam locomotives such as the Malay locomotives, and that decision was to purchase these locomotives that was made when he was away on an overseas trip. So it is hard to say whether they are originally going to be built as 0440 or a tank engine, but these ones were tender engines. Shortly after their arrival, the 4600s were test run. It was discovered that their front wheels were exhibiting too much hunting excavation, and as a result of the locomotives were sent to Himamatsu Works to have the pilot truck added, making them 2440 locomotives. It was also at Hamamatsu when the locomotives were reclassified as Class 9020 locomotives. Prior to this, the Class 9000 locomotives were reclassified to Class 9040 locomotives to give the remaining numbers to the Malay locomotives. But this proved redundant when these locomotives were numbered into 9020s. Now, the service life of these Malays. The locomotives have finally entered service in March of 1913, being deployed to Yamakata Depot. By this time, the locomotives were severely outdated, being too small and of an old straight steam design. During a time when most Japanese steam locomotives were adapting superheating steam, and as a result, the locomotives were mainly used for trading purposes for the larger 9750 Malay locomotive, and occasionally as an auxiliary pusher locomotives. Yeah, given the design, they seem to be outdated compared to the modern Japanese locomotives. Why didn't they modernize them and give them rebuilds? Consider that the design is, they would be very expensive to give them a redesign or rebuild of the Malay in Japan. The locomotives were moved to Kuroshio in April 1921 and used on the Toko main line. All of them were withdrawn from service in May of 1925. All of them were scrapped but except one, which is 9020 locomotive itself, has been preserved. They are considered a failure, and it is very unlikely it will run because in a museum you could see the insides of a steam engine, meaning the boiler and the firebox, so it's still on display at a museum. And that's it for this video. Like and subscribe, and see you later, guys.